Patreon Q&A number 96. I want to thank all 128 of my amazing patrons, guys. Thank you so much for continuing to support me the way that you have. I can't thank you enough. And to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers in these questions and answers for all of the series I'm talking about, so tread carefully. All right, so Rediculuz and Water Bottle asked the same question this week, and it's a good question. I feel like it's something we need to be talking about because I got a lot of comments about this, so let's get into it. So the table flip from Saitama, what is this going to be like? Does the Sairochi laser continent shaving feat interrupt with that? Does it mess the power scale? Does Awakened Garo need to be that strong? What's going on? So let me break it down here. So first of all, I think we should be looking at this differently. See, on the surface, we're like, oh, this is kind of messing up things. Everything needs to surpass this from this point on, and I don't think that's true at all. What we're looking at here is honestly a feat of God. Less of a feat of Sairochi or Orochi or Psychos. This is like God's power. There's no way Sairochi could have did this without the intervention of God. So this isn't so much showing us that like, oh, this character is so strong or this villain is so strong that the next villain or any other feats need to surpass this. That's not the case. This is just a taste of the end game of the series. So it doesn't mean that everything needs to surpass it from this point on. It's just showing us what will be. So everything from then on can be as it has been. It doesn't need to surpass this because by the time we get to the point of where everyone's going to be doing stuff like this, essentially. I mean, not everyone, but you know what I mean. So as for the table flip, it's Saitama flipping the hunk of the continent that was cut off. In theory, he could do that, and that would be awesome, right? Seeing Saitama flip that and then seeing how Murata draws it, flipping in space, and then coming back down to Earth. But with that comes a lot of problems. I mean, you know, always I say we have to suspend our disbelief with battle manga and all fiction and all that stuff. We don't want to get too pedantic with it because that's no fun. And what I'm trying to say is, like, Sairochi shaving off that continent of the Earth probably would have ended all life on Earth. I'm assuming if that were to happen in reality. So if Saitama were to flip that portion of the Earth, then I guess he would destroy the Earth or destroy a lot of people. A lot of casualties would come from that. So I don't think Saitama is going to flip that portion of Earth because it just would go against his morals and stuff that we've seen of him. Now, what I think he's actually going to do is he's just going to flip the Monster Association base and everything around it, because that's basically what Awakened Garo says in the webcomic. He's like, you flip the base again. So I guess that's what he's going to do. That's what we're going to see, the cool feat of power. Like when we saw Tatsumaki pull the base out of the ground, what was it, like chapter 129 or 130. So Saitama's just going to flip that thing. And that's going to be cool. He doesn't need to flip the continent right now because we're going to get crazy stuff like that towards the end of the series. So like I said, we're just getting a little taste right now, guys. So, have some more faith in one Murata, or more so one. Dino W asks, hey, Shonen, here we go again for another Q&A, one of the better parts of the week. So here we go. Mizuki, Fubuki, Tatsumaki, date, marry, disappear, we'll say. You guys know what we're talking about here, so bear with me. Gotta keep it PG, but... So date Tatsumaki. Don't want to marry her, but don't want to disappear her either. Now, I don't like her personality. I don't like her inherently as a person. But man, you know that I appreciate the aesthetics that she has, and how like crazy and career driven she is. I'm sure she doesn't want to even be in a relationship anyway, and she would be fine to just have beneficial aspects of it, we'll say. So, you could just, quote unquote, date her, I suppose, and then, you can kind of just hang out and then just part your ways after that, and you don't really have to worry about each other any more than that. And then marry Fubuki, of course. She's pretty much the woman that you would want to marry if you could. I mean, yeah, she has a lot of issues, a lot of insecurities. Don't we all? But, beneath the surface, she's a good girl. And then Mizuki... Nothing wrong with Mizuki. It's just that she's a hard third place to these two, so she's kind of getting the short end of the stick here, and she's got to disappear. Sorry. And the same question for Mirko, Midnight and Mount Lady. This is more difficult, I would say. Maybe marry Midnight, because she is pretty cool, and she's always in that mood, which would be nice to have all the time, at least in my opinion. And then I guess date Mount Lady, because she's also cool and I'm very appreciative of her aesthetics. And then Mirko, she's fine too, but it's coming back to the Mizuki thing here. third place to these two, in my opinion. I know everybody holds Mirko in extremely high regard, and that's fine. To each his own. But for me, I'd rather have Midnight Mount Lady if I had the choice. Beowolf asks, so I didn't know that about Rorschach and Ozymandias. That's awesome. And yes, I do love that movie. It's one of my favorites. I think it's criminally underrated. So as for your first question, I do think there's a lot of truth to this. It's very possible that God is like the strongest Esper there is, or something like that. Like, since we're on Watchmen, maybe God has some kind of similar origin to that of Dr. Manhattan. Because, like I've said, when we got the history of the world in chapter 119 or 118, I don't remember exactly, it was like nuclear warfare that essentially started monstrification in theory. So maybe he was like annihilated, similar to how Dr. Manhattan was by those gamma rays or whatever it was, that blue stuff. I forget exactly what it was. I need to watch that movie again, but he was like vaporized and then he came back as God. Maybe something like that happened with God, and then he got all of the strongest Esper abilities that there are, and then he integrated himself into the world. I do think there's some truth to that from what Sairochi was saying in chapter 132. It could be something like that, but I think you're on the right path here. And as for your second question, I think most of the ocean probably got taken off, because if you compare to like where Z City is on the map, which is obviously where they are right now, and you kind of sync it up with the panel that Murata drew, it looks like Murata actually looked at the geography of the world, which I hope that he did, and it seems like most of the damage was ocean. Yeah, some of continent stuff came off, and there was definitely some casualties, but from this perspective, it looks like, it was 80 or 90% of this was just ocean getting lifted. Brandon M asks, hey, Shonen, this is my first time ever doing a Patreon, so forgive me if my question isn't worded well. Hey, it's no problem, Brandon. Trust me, less is more. And as for your answer with Saitama running around in episode 6 and breathing heavy, see, the thing with season 1 and season 2, just the anime of One Punch Man, is that it's like almost an entirely different continuity than the manga. Now, not entirely, and that's why it's kind of frustrating, because it's like there is some cool stuff in season 1, some supplementary stuff that isn't from the manga that maybe we should take for face value and take it into consideration with the overall canon of the series. But then, of course, there are sequences that are way over embellished, and this is one of them, unfortunately. So in the manga, we do see Saitama like hunched over, and he kind of has some sweat coming off of his head, but it's never implied in the manga that like he's exhausted. It's more like he's like frustrated and hopeless. There's no way that Saitama would ever like show some kind of kink in his endurance just from running around a city or something like that. I mean, like, think about when he was going against Boros. Like, that was clearly way more of an effort than he did running around this place, regardless of how long it was. So this is more just so, this is like the animation studio and the directors themselves. This isn't like one showing us that Saitama is tired from this. It's just like a comical sequence that we really shouldn't put too much emphasis on. Bryan Big Smokin asks, who do you think wins Midoriya at 100% with no repercussions, or Sensui from Yu Yu Hakusho? So this would be a pretty competitive fight, actually, because Sensui is a mega powerhouse, especially once he unlocks his sacred energy. It's kind of similar to Midoriya, although it's difficult to match up their feats, but for right now, I would say that it would be really competitive, because they seem like they're somewhat around the same level. Like, Sensui was like pretty much flying, I guess, when he was fighting Yusuke, which was insane. So maybe Sensui would even defeat full Cowling 100%. I mean, I'm just giving a rough estimate here, but Sensui to this day is still pretty impressive. Second question, who's going to finish off Psychos in the manga? Still Fubuki? Absolutely. This is integral to the story that Fubuki defeats Psychos. So this isn't going to change. I mean, maybe the whole epicness of it and how the fight plays out is going to change, but the results won't. Cool. Mitch987 asks, what's up, Z? Hope you're doing well. Hey, I am, and hope you are too. I have come across this absurd question. And yes, Mitch, this is absurd, and it's super difficult to answer, but I'll try to do it anyway. So, what if Wakengaro and Meteoric Burst Boros DBZ fuse together? And then what if Blue and Blast DBZ fuse together? Who would be stronger? Super difficult to say, but we're going to do it anyway. So I think Blast is stronger than both of these individuals. It's hard to say how much stronger he is than Meteoric Burst Boros, who I also think, if you've watched my video, is stronger than Wakengaro at this point. And then Blue, hard to say, of course. I mean, maybe he's a high dragon, maybe not. But I think Blast is closer to God than Meteoric Burst Boros, simply because of the hype and the progression of the story, like I always say. Of course, there's no way to say for sure. It's all speculation, but I would say that Blast and Blue are probably going to come out stronger here, maybe. Deus Vult, relax, I am here. What's up, Z-Boy? Good to see you. Glad to see you can make it. I had Chipotle, and I've been on the grind in some video games, so I'm kind of a big deal. Hey, that's awesome, Crusader. How are you doing with the virus and stuff? Hey, I'm doing fine, and I hope you're getting swole. Hey, every day. Do you got a secret lover, by the way? No, I don't love anyone, but I do love the gym of both the weights and the battle manga. First question, what if you put Saitama under a genjutsu? Would it work on him when you punch out of it like you did with Phoenix Dude? Yes, I don't think a genjutsu would work against Saitama. I thought maybe it could have worked before we saw him punch out of the spirit world, but after that, there's no way I see any genjutsus from any series aside from like a cosmic being working on Saitama or something like that. Like, he's just way too powerful for like stuff like that. And in my opinion, of course, if you want to debunk it, go ahead. I don't care. Second question, not you, Crusader, just anyone listening. A serious kick from Saitama, how powerful would it be? I do martial arts, and my back leg roundhouse kick to the head can cause some damage. Yeah, definitely. I practiced my wheel kick for many years. It's so satisfying perfectly executing that, especially in a live spar, but, you know, you can't even really do it perfectly. You're kind of like doing a pro wrestling move at that point because you don't want to knock your friend out. But, yeah, like, if Saitama were to learn how to do this properly, it would be incredible. But he wouldn't. He's just going to throw, like, a regular kick. Like, Saitama would never do, like, a perfect, like, wheel kick or question mark kick or a round kick or anything like that. Like you know, what maybe Garo would do because you know, that's Saitama's character. So if he just threw like a regular like kick, like he was kicking a ball or something, it would probably be just as strong as his punch. It ultimately comes down to technique, in my opinion. Free-Tshirts asks, yo, Shonen, hope you're doing all right. Hey, I am, and I hope you are too, Free-Tshirts. So the organization has been making progressively stronger robots to collect data on the heroes. My question is, what if this continues? What are the peak disaster levels they could reach by doing this over and over? Take care, dude. So I guess in theory, could be God, right? I mean, if they keep going and eventually they're going to get to maybe getting Saitama's data or just whoever the strongest individual in the world's data is, and if they expand upon that, then I guess it's got to be God via the process of elimination. I don't think they're going to get that strong, but I do think we will see Drive Knight's peak of power being absolutely above drag. Gardenshed asks, hello, Shonen, recently in my reread of My Hero, I realized a lot of the students in Class 1B are exceptionally powerful despite the lack of screen time. If it weren't for plot armor on 1A's part in the sports festival, how do you think it would have gone differently? So I agree completely, and I love Class 1B after that joint training arc. Those are the ones that really shined, and I think that's what probably Horikoshi intended. But yeah, like Mudman, Shishida, Tetsu, Beasts, powerhouses, love those guys. And I think 1B is probably just as good as 1A, if not even better, you know, aside from them having Bakugo and Midoriya. Yeah, that's right. Todoroki got beasted. I don't care. But yeah, it would have definitely gone different if it was like more based on like the continuity and feats rather than Horikoshi needing to give these characters spotlight, because that's what the plot armor that you're talking about. He's just giving these characters spotlight. They needed to get development at this point in the series. And since 1B are just all like super ancillary, it didn't matter if they were successful or not. So like Ashido, Aoyama, Hagakure, even Kaminari, and then I hate to say it, I love her, Ochako. These characters probably wouldn't make it to the finals here. They would be replaced by like, you know, like Hononuki, and then Shishida, of course, and then maybe like Bondo or something like that. I don't know. It's just like if it was real straight up to like who the best are, we would see a different outcome. And I know that a lot of it played into how the cavalry battle and all that stuff played out beforehand, but I'm just talking about, you know, strictly skill. Geruda asks, hey, Shonen, imagine if someone was to alter time and All For One was a hero and he had to hunt down the users of One For All to prevent from becoming an unstoppable evil. How crazy do you think a world with villainous All Might would be? So he's unstoppable. If All Might was like truly evil and a villain and he still had his power along with, you know, One For All's hacks and all that stuff, then there's no way he can lose. The only thing that's really holding back All Might at this point is his morality. And if he didn't have any, then there's nothing that can stop him aside from something that is way stronger than him. And as we saw, All For One is not that. And I assume that even despite being a villain, he could tap into the Vestige power where he's essentially unbeatable. So yeah, it would be like Superman, you know, when he turns evil and takes over the earth. You need to need more than just one individual to take him down. Joe D asks, hey man, am I Mask versus Zombie Man? Who you got? So I got my Mask here. I mean, he would just totally dominate Zombie Man. And as for him completely taking him out, I suppose if he went into his monster form, he could do something to just finish Zombie Man, possibly to stop him from coming back. Maybe. I know that Carnage Kabuto didn't do it in the VGS, but I mean, come on. Do we really need to take that super literally, guys? I'm not. Also, who do you think is the most intelligent character in manga anime ever? Hope you have a good weekend, my dude. Hey, I hope you do too, Joe D. So I'm not qualified to answer this question. But just off the top of my head, I gotta say Bulma from Dragon Ball, maybe. And that's just because the plot requires her to be unfathomably smart, so she can create these devices that have no rhyme or reason to them. She just straight up made a time machine. That's crazy. Joseph E asks, what's up, Shonen? Hope you had a good week. I love the answers I got for my question last week. Today's my birthday. Finally, big 22. Hey, happy birthday, Joseph. That's awesome, man. So, Blast versus Meteoric Burst Boros. At this point, I'm thinking that Blast is stronger than him, because as I always say, progression of the story requires Blast to be stronger than him. And, One Punch Man, subverts tropes, blah, blah, blah. I know. I'm the one that says this stuff, guys. I'm aware. But I do have a lot of faith in Blast, especially on the power scale. And I really do think that he's probably stronger than Meteoric Burst Boros, maybe with a similar moveset and powers, possibly. Second question. How do you think the current My Hero story would be if Mirio never lost his quirk? It wouldn't really change that much, honestly. I mean, yeah, it would be cool to have him back in the story with his quirks, but, he would just be backup at this point. He's good and powerful, of course, but, Overhaul is just, nothing compared to Plus Ultra Shigaraki and the high-end Nomus right now. And I'm not even sure if Mirio could solo a high-end Nomu at this point. Joseph K asks, hello, Shonen, hope you're doing all right. Hey, I am, and I hope you are too, Joseph. My question this week is, what do you think Saitama has done with My Mask? So I'm going to make a video about this eventually. I got so many videos that I need to make, but it's not just about My Mask, but it's more so my sequel to the video that I have about Saitama secretly being a monster. And I think that's continuing the storyline, in my opinion. I don't think he took him to anyone specific. I think he just took him somewhere where he could be alone or just away from society or something. And I think he probably told My Mask that he's a monster too, or something like that, and that it's okay. And as long as you're not let your humanity go and you still want to protect everyone or whatever, and not be evil, then it's okay to be a monster. And I think he probably was hey, just take your time to make yourself be able to go back to your human form or something, then work it after that. I don't know, something like that. But I do think it's along the lines of Saitama relating to My Mask, with them both being monsters. Elle asks, all right, we have different opinions on Bafoy's future arcs, and that's half the fun right there. IMO, Bafoy is using Dr. Crusader to get data he wants on Saitama through Genos. Regardless of Bafoy's ties, he is super mad at Saitama. Do you think this means of data collection on Bafoy uses the quote, observe him for now. Take care, Saitama's not a gag character. No, he's not. I'll make a video about this one day. I mean, it's pretty easy to prove that he's not. But anyway, that would be pretty interesting if Bafoy was somehow in control of Kuseno, maybe. It's possible. I'm not going to say it's not possible. It's totally possible. 40% possible, maybe even. But I think that Bafoy, he is going to do something with Saitama, of course. But I think it's eventually going to get to the point of where it's revealed that Metal Knight isn't a bad guy, and he kind of was just getting a bad rep. You think he's a villain, but the whole time he was actually the good guy. I really think that's the narrative that one's driving here, and it's pretty cool. So maybe but as for Kuseno, I think Kuseno is actually more evil than Bafoy. I think Kuseno has some kind of ties to the organization or something. Or maybe he made Drive Knight or something like that. I mean, why does Dr. Kuseno know so much about the Mad Cyborg? Legandaryus asks, hey, Shonen, would Luffy accidentally eat another devil fruit? No, I don't think he would. And yeah, I know, it seems like Luffy is almost has no intelligence sometimes, even less of intelligence than Goku does, but he has a secret intelligence sometimes. It comes out randomly. You think that Luffy is oblivious to what's going on in the world, and he kind of just goes from moment to moment. He's almost like a goldfish or something, but I don't think he's that absent-minded or whatever, to accidentally eat another devil fruit. He definitely knows that he would die if he ate another one. Like, he's aware of the lore and the rules of the world. So I don't think he would do that unless he knew that he could get away with it. Lindu K asks, hey, Shonen, hope everything is going well in your family and staying safe from the no-no virus. Hey, everything is fine. I don't have any family, but thank you, Lindu K. My question is your opinion on what the bespectacled worker said about Saitama's physical test results to Snack. He said it's if Saitama has a god residing inside of his body. Do you think it's a throwaway line, or it's more of a statement given to the word god so rarely used it's like the final character for Saitama to defeat when one made the series? Yeah, something like that. I mean, I don't think the bespectacled worker is talking about the being god, although he could, and the same thing with Dr. Genius in Chapter 88. I don't know for sure. I just assume that they're just talking about, like, what God represents, the word God. But regardless, bespectacled worker definitely knows that Saitama is the one above all, or close to that level of power or something like that, which is pretty interesting, right? Because he's always hanging around with the bearded worker. But yeah, the word God, like you said, it is meant to represent pretty much the final character for Saitama to defeat. I think that's pretty much true here. MemePriest asks, hey Shonen, what's up, my guy? Hope things are well. And here are my 2 questions for this week. What threat level would you give Part 1 Dio? So I haven't seen Part 1 in a long time, so I'm kind of fuzzy on this, but I'm pretty sure the Dio had his vampire powers in Season 1 on display, right? And they didn't really get too crazy until Part 2, from what I remember. So in Part 1, maybe he was like high tiger, low demon. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to get seriously offended by that. But just remember, I'm fuzzy on this, guys. What is the true faith of evil natural water? This is a very interesting question, MemePriest. What exactly does true faith mean? Does it mean like in religion? Or what is his true mentality? What is he doing? What does he want? I don't know. I don't think he has a true faith. I don't know if he's sentient enough to even have that type of thought process. I think Evil Natural Water is just along for the ride, honestly. Like, it seems like he was just chilling out there like a Pokemon or something, and Psycho snatched him up and is using him for her bidding. I mean, it's almost literally like a Pokemon. Mr.Awsome asks, how do you do, Z-Boy Shonen? Let's get something out of the way real quick. If Bill Burr is not cast as Sitch, we will riot. Bill Burr as Sitch. Interesting. Okay, so my first question, who would win in a fight between Blast and Prime All Might? Oh, man. I don't know. They gotta be competitive. Something like that, right? I mean, I'm making a follow-up video to Prime All Might in December. Big video. But, man, I don't know with this one. Because, again, it's like this is just 2 characters that we can only literally speculate about pretty much. So, dude, I don't know. I don't want to pick. I like both of these guys. Sorry. On to my second question. What if every single Black S cell was as strong as Golden S? What if they fused? How powerful would they be? This is a difficult Q&A this week. You guys are really giving me these super difficult questions. And I'm not complaining. And I'm not saying don't. I'm just pointing out an observation here. I don't know. Man, 11 trillion Golden S's? High dragons? Dude, I don't know. I mean, maybe they're Dragon Ball Super level at that point, possibly. And then maybe they could give Saitama a fight. I mean, wow, that's quite the calculation to run there. Mr. Toby 1018 asks, "Sup, Big Z? Your channel's growing fast, and I'm proud of you." Hey, thank you, Mr. Toby. I know you've been supporting me from the beginning. Who would you love to see Murata draw? I'd like to see him draw like the My Hero characters, honestly, and some One Piece characters too, but mainly the My Hero characters. I think he would do a lot of them really well. I mean, he could do anything well. He could draw anything, but I'm saying like specifically the My Hero characters. I think he would really excel with a lot of them. Do you think we'll see a rematch between Raiden and Darkshine? And who would win? Yeah, I do think we're going to see that, and I think Darkshine will win. Kind of because he has to. Like, if Darkshine loses again to Raiden, then he's pretty much done as a character. And I don't think that's what one wants. I think he's just, going through his character development right now, and it'll eventually come to his arc where he overcomes, I guess, his mental problems that he's having right now, and he defeats Raiden in the Civil War. Nathan W asks, so we got Blue, Suiko, Genos, Tank Top Master all fighting dragons. Who do you think is going to win? So I think they're all going to win. Or at least I really hope so. I think Suiko is going to win because she needs to prove that she is that strong, and then she'll be promoted to S-Class, where they're probably going to make her, or try to make her, the new mascot to compete against the Neo heroes. Blue is probably going to win to establish how powerful he is, truly. You know, he needs to take down a dragon, and that is the litmus test after all. Genos... I just hope he wins. Maybe this is one finally throwing Genos his bone, possibly. I just hope so. And then Tank Top Master, I think it would be really depressing if he just loses this. Like, why did one just set this up just for him to lose again? Like, what is the purpose of Tank Top Master's character if he's just going to, like, never succeed? I just don't know. But I think they're all going to win here. Peanut asks, hello, Shonen. Glad to finally be able to ask you a question. I won't be able to do this again, but I'm happy I got to ask one. My question is, do you think Yujiro Hanma from Grappler Baki could take Darkshine in a fight? So... I don't know, and I get asked about this guy all the time, so maybe I should just power scale this guy and make a video on him eventually. But yeah, the whole defeating the U.S. military, of course, that's impressive, but I think Darkshine could easily do that as well. So I'll let you decide for yourself, Peanut. Since I don't know, in-depth Yujiro Hanma, Darkshine's feat of strength in... I don't know, it's like chapter 121 or something, like when we see the flashback of him doing those squats in the gravity chamber. That's a feat of power that rivals Dragon Ball Z characters in the Namek arc. So, if Yujiro Hanma can compete with that level of power, then you'll have your answer. But if not, then you also have your answer. Peter Griffin 149 asked, greetings Z, by the time this video goes up, I will have either passed or failed my license test, and it will be on Friday, so retroactively, wish me luck. Hey, I have utmost faith that you passed, Peter Griffin. Anyways, not really a question this week, but it's a shame Moomin Rider hasn't received a Zenkai boost, considering how many times it's been destroyed. But do you think he's going to receive one at the end of the series? No, I don't think he will. And Zenkai boosts are like, not everybody can just get it. Like, it takes like a really special circumstance and a special individual for this to happen. At least that's what Psychos is portraying in chapter 92. It's not like, somebody's uncle in the One Punch Man world can like fall down the steps and almost die, and then once they survive, now they're like tiger level. I don't think it works like that. But I mean, Moomin Rider in theory could definitely achieve a Zenkai boost, but I don't think he's ever gotten to the sweet spot to where he's going to initiate that power. Like, compare the worst beating that Moomin Rider has taken to Garo pretty much dying in chapter 88. Like, it's not the same. ThighsOfZeus asks, hey, show, thanks for the feedback last week. I definitely forgot Blast was the bearded worker for a second. Hey, you can't forget that. And you guys are always like, hey, you keep telling us that Blast is the bearded worker. Well, this is why, guys, because you forget sometimes. This week, I wanted to ask about the manga adding basically all of Season 2 of the story as well as the Monster Association overhaul. Do you think that we'll get any future expansions like the tournament arc? Yes, I do think we're going to get that. After the Monster Association arc is over, I think One and Murata are really going to expand that portion of the webcomic between like chapters 95 and 106. I think that's going to get a big revamp and expansion, to accommodate for all of the new characters that the webcomic doesn't touch on that are in the manga, of course. Second question I wanted to ask, Togoro's power, how does it work? It seems like the percentages have an exponential increase, at least in size. Does it carry over to his strength? Yeah, definitely, or at least that's the way that I saw it. Like the power that he received from the council, I guess allowed him to have this kind of like own inherent power scale to him where he can turn it on and off and increase it in levels. Honestly, this is just because Togashi was influenced by Frieza at that point. Like, this came out in the early 90s, and Dragon Ball Z was like the peak of battle manga, and Frieza was like the big villain, so everybody was kind of inspired by that. And that's definitely where I see, the whole power dynamic with Toguro here. And also there is the drawback to it because he needs to like absorb souls to accommodate for how much power he's using. So yeah, the size increase is for aesthetic, but also to represent that his strength has increased as well. Because you see every time he does it, he has like a new incredible feat to go against Yusuke. VertGod asks, hey Shonen, hope you're doing well in all these crazy times. Hey, I am VertGod, I hope you are too. Just one question for you. We know that Genos has never gotten a well-deserved victory, but I was wondering if you think Genos could defeat Evil Natural Water. No, not currently at least. Maybe Genos at the end of the series could, but the Genos that we've seen so far and the Genos currently, no, I don't think he could. And I think that's because Child Emperor pretty much tells us this in the webcomic when he's like, even if we had the means of like firepower or something like that to like, nuke the evil natural water, like disintegrate him or vaporize him, he says that his regeneration ability would probably be faster than the rate at which he would burn, which is pretty much one telling us that like if you thought like a massive beam cannon or fire blast or whatever could defeat him, it can't, because he could just pull water from the air faster and regenerate himself. And you're eventually going to run out of firepower, and he's not going to run out of moisture to pull from the air. So no, he will not be defeated by Genos. Zapphod B asks, what would have happened if Child Emperor shot Boros' ship with the Millennium Emperor Nova? So yeah, Millennium Emperor Nova is unfortunately retconned now, so it's debatable even if that exists. But just for the fun of this, we'll say that if he did shoot it, maybe he would make it tilt a little, like make it go off center possibly, but it's really hard to say if he would pierce it, because that thing was still flying after getting punched by Saitama a lot. So I mean, the Millennium Emperor Nova is definitely not as strong as a punch from Saitama in my opinion, or maybe I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe it's rivaling it, like a normal punch or something. Who knows? But yeah, I don't think the Millennium Emperor Nova would have took down Boros' ship. Maybe it would have took a little piece off of it, maybe? Not sure, but I don't think it would have really did anything significant. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 128 of my incredible patrons. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, just simply check out the Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you next one.